What is this? It's kind of light. Oh, my body starts to shiver. Worries will my mother hide. Oh, I've never felt like this before. Got to let it go.
When you move abroad, there are some things you can't take with you. But there are some things you just can't leave behind. For international health insurance, choose Allianz Worldwide Care.
It's a beautiful fall evening. The sun is setting. The dog finally stopped barking. Life is good. But inside, there's trouble brewing, and Emma has no idea. Although she feels fine, like her father, Emma is one of the 67 million adults in the U.S. with high blood pressure or hypertension. Just like her radiator that's on the fritz, Emma's heart is working overtime to get the job done. Let's have a look. The heart is the pump in our bodies, delivering blood to the entire system through a set of pipes, or blood vessels of all sizes. Smoking, high cholesterol, diabetes, obesity, physical inactivity, family history, and increased age all contribute to these blood vessels, or our pipes, becoming less elastic. The more blood our heart has to pump through stiff, narrowing arteries, the higher our blood pressure. When the force of the blood against our artery walls is too high, life-threatening health problems can result. Problems like kidney disease, heart disease, stroke, even heart attack. Can Emma get her pressure down before it's too late?
Michelle, the computer lady, your host. During some awful dark times in America, Black people were denied the ability to read, to learn how to read, to write, or to even own books. And that has hampered our communities up until this day. Now we're going to have important conversations about the importance and power of reading. Hi, I'm Michelle, the computer lady. And I'd like to introduce to you the president of Jackson State University. And today we're going to talk about the importance and power of reading. I have with me now Dr. Thomas Hudson. How you doing, Dr. Hudson?
Hey, how are you doing? I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Well, just in case you didn't know, I attended Jackson State University as a 15-year-old freshman.
Wow.
And so I'm excited about this. And I have so much respect for you. So just a little bit about you. How long have you been the president of Jackson State University, and which president are you? What tenure is this?
Okay, so I am proud to be the 12th president of Jackson State University in our 145-year history. And I've been in this role since February 2020. I actually started as acting president in February 2020. Then I became permanent president in November of 2020. So just over 2.5 years, I've been serving in this role. This too is my alma mater. It's been the honor of a lifetime, and I'm very appreciative of this opportunity.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. Now, I want to talk about the importance of reading, and I have some questions for you. First off, did you like reading as a child?
Oh, I loved reading as a child. I've been reading for as long as I can remember. And as a child, I used to read everything, absolutely everything. I grew up, my mom, was a single parent. And being the dominant person in the household, there was no Sports Illustrated and things like that in the house. We read Reader's Digest. She read Woman's World. She read all types of magazines, all types of books. And I was someone that loved to consume everything. And even to this day, I just love a great story. I love a great narrative. I love something that teaches me something. So I've always been a big reader, really, for as long as I can remember.
So you would say that your mother was your great influencer in reading?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. She is a big reader herself. So really a great influencer in all aspects of my life, but especially, in terms of reading and just the power and the value of learning to read, reading comprehension, writing, and all that comes from that.
Sounds great. Now, what was your favorite book as a child?
You know what? That's an interesting call because just recently, when I was in, I want to say fifth grade, I believe, fifth or sixth grade, I read a book called The Gift Giver, right? And it was a book centered on, it was just a novel about African Americans, kind of the home life in New York. I recently bought it for my two daughters. I have a 9 and a 10-year-old daughter. So just a really good narrative book that we read in school. But also going back even further, as I've gotten older, the autobiography of Malcolm X, it's been a great one. Dreams from My Father by Barack Obama. I love a really good bio that turns into a narrative. And, those are the types of books that I've always loved to consume.
Okay. So now what are you reading right now, or what's your favorite book right now?
You know what? I read so much for work. There's a book that I'm reading right now called Broke, which is about finance in higher ed. And I've just started to read it. I'm finally getting a little bit into ebooks, right? And so I'm starting to read it. Just read Will Smith's bio, which was really, really good. I would recommend it to anyone, especially those early years when he was talking about just kind of growing up and how he became who he was. John Thompson's bio is a really good one as well that I love to read. So again, I love a good bio. I love a good story. I love something that teaches me, something that I didn't know before.
That is awesome. So let me ask you, what age did you start reading? Do you remember?
I don't remember because, again, I've been reading for as long as I can remember. So it really, I can't pinpoint an age when I started reading. Obviously, in first grade, I was already reading. Even before first grade, I was already reading and writing. I didn't go to kindergarten. So it's hard to just pinpoint when, because that's all I can remember is being able to read.
So you said your mom read a variety of books. Did she read with you and to you as well?
She read with me, but mostly I read independent. I read independent a lot. I was the type that would just pick up something and start reading it. So that's why I can't really pinpoint like the date or the age when I started reading. Because again, that's for as long as I can remember, I've been reading something.
Okay. So now, as an educator and a professional, how has reading helped your life and your career?
It's really been everything. There was a quote by Malcolm X, who received no real formal education. And when people asked him, well, what did you learn? He said books, right? For me, that's always been the great equalizer, no matter what, in terms of where you come from, your educational background, the level of education that you receive. Books, reading is a great equalizer. And a lot of what I've learned by reading independently. Okay, so again, just as an educator, that's one of the lessons I'll impart on our students. Read as much as you can outside the classroom. I'm an attorney by trade, and believe me, it is very difficult because we learn to read and write a certain way. And it's hard to kind of go back to the sort of narrative reading that you're used to, that you grew up with. Reading as an attorney is totally different. But even in doing that, I've always made it a point to consume books that will teach me something that I'll enjoy. And I encourage students to do that all the time. So again, reading is a great equalizer, not just within your subject matter, within the required material, but even outside of that. That's always helped propel me forward.
Well, my thing, and maybe this is true, maybe it's not, and what I wanted to ask, because I find that boys gravitate to things that they can learn, things that they can take something from. And if you were directing young men right now, and you do, what would be the best direction you can get them to go into as far as making sure that they, number one, read and read well so they can further their career? Because you said you're a lawyer by trade, you're an attorney. And I know that there's a lot of research and those kind of things. And you have to have an analytical mind and a comprehension. So how would you direct young men? Because I see young men falling through the cracks a lot of times when it comes to reading.
Well, the first thing is starting very early, starting when they were young. They are young boys, okay? Starting very early, just kind of infusing that love of reading, helping them read anything, whatever you're interested in, just read and comprehend and learn something from it. There's value in that from an early age. And as you get older and as you progress, find what you're interested in, find what you want to learn, consume books about it. We have to make sure those resources are, first of all, available to them. Whether it's short stories, whether it's magazine articles. Again, I was a big consumer of the Reader's Digest, which for me and my damn short attention span, it worked in terms of how you were able to consume short stories and a lot in a relatively short period of time. But whatever, you have to meet people where they are. You have to get them interested by helping them read things that they are interested in. And again, just continue to push and encourage as they continue to grow older to read. So it's really just about that encouragement. It's about providing the resources to them for reading and just pushing them and propelling them and encouraging them forward as readers.
Well, I know for myself, and we're talking about readers, and I have 4 brothers. My father was a comic book reader. My father was born on a plantation in 1921. And so he didn't have a great education, but what he did with me, he would sit me down and we would read the comics together out of the newspaper. And he also did that with my brothers. And he was in the Navy, so they read a lot of comic books. Do you think that's also a good source of reading, especially
Absolutely.
Now we've got Marvel and everything else going on?
Comic books, graphic novels, which are very advanced, right? You know, in terms of the type of reading, it's not what we think, the old paperback comics, which are fine also. But again, getting them to read something, getting started somewhere. If you have someone who is not a big reader, who doesn't enjoy reading, get them started somewhere, you know, get them whatever they're interested in. And if they struggle reading, get them to someone who can help. You know, recognize that dyslexia will encourage or discourage people from reading and reaching their true potential. So again, whatever it is and whatever you can do, help as much as possible in terms of getting your loved ones to read.
Dr. Hudson, we're going to take a quick break and we will be right back. All right. Thank you so much. We took a little break. We are here with Dr. Hudson from Jackson State University. He is the 12th president in our storied history at Jackson State University. And we're talking about the importance and power of reading. Now, what do you think the state of literacy is for our children as far as reading? Because I know you've heard about the reading scores over the pandemic and how they've dropped.
Well, you know, that is a concern. That's a concern as students enter as freshmen, reading comprehension skills, even with the technology that we have available, reading comprehension skills are still very much needed. It's still a primary indicator of success in college. So, there's some concern that there have been some losses as it relates to the pandemic, and that we've had a few setbacks, and that we need to make some gains post pandemic as we continue to emerge out of what seems to be a never ending pandemic. How do we emphasize reading? What are some of the things that we can do to emphasize reading comprehension, better reading? Again, meeting people where they are. How do we encourage reading as one of the main indicators for success in college and in your career? So that is a concern where we are. At Jackson State, we're committed to helping meet that challenge.
Well, speaking of being at the university, what happens when students that are matriculated into Jackson State come in and they have a reading deficiency? What do you guys do for that?
Well, there's a number of programs that we have available, tutoring being the main one, right? Making sure they're in certain courses that can help, again, with the reading comprehension. Some of your English courses, we require literacy as one of the main courses. So there are a multitude of interventions that we have, mainly starting with diagnosing what the issue is. What do we have? Where's your baseline, if you will, coming into the university? And then from there, really trying to meet you and help you with your needs. Again, tutoring, specialized courses, really down the line through your graduation.
Dr. Hudson, I apologize. How can we help our boys read better? Because I know everyone struggles, but I see more boys struggling with reading than I do girls. So how can we address our parents today on this conversation? And how can we tell them, or the things that we can do to help push them to help their boys read better?
Well, I grew up in a different time, okay, where there was no internet, there was no social media, there was no iPad. So there weren't the only distraction you had was TV or go play outside, right? So there wasn't as much out there as it relates to reading. So we have to use the tools that are at our disposal. First and foremost, again, for me, there was always books, magazines, different things around for me to pick up and read when I was bored. You have to have the material around your kids, okay? So you have to have books around, have to have something around for them to pick up and read. But also, let's utilize the devices that we give them. Let's utilize the iPhones. Let's utilize the iPads, the different tools, the digital tools that we have available to us. Start them reading on Kindle, start them reading through Amazon or whatever you may have. Tap into those free resources where, again, get them reading about things that they're interested in. That's going to be very much the key. So again, we just have to start very early, start encouraging, start demanding in some cases, hey, you must read X amount per day, and really pushing the ball forward. And that's just not for our young men, but our young women as well. Every kid growing up has to have, that ability to read and read a lot and read very well if they're going to continue to have success in life. And if you see that there are issues, if you see that there are some concerns, don't automatically assume that it's some level of laziness or there's something wrong with your child. Take them to a specialist, take them somewhere to get the help that they need so they can read and comprehend well. Stay engaged with your teachers so you will know, hey, this is what they're doing. This is how well they're reading. And again, continue just to provide that encouragement along with the resources.
And you make some really solid points. And these are the things that I tell parents all the time, that we have to make sure, especially when they're young, that we've got them engaged, which is why I started writing books for children, to make sure that we have resources. The other thing is we have a lot of Black book authors now. How are we directing our folks to say, hey, not only can they see themselves, but STEM is really, really big. So how are we gearing them towards STEM? And how can we do that in a way that it's effective, especially for young men and young women, and that they see themselves represented in that?
Well, again, it's about that awareness. It's about that exposure. Making sure they understand that when you talk about STEM, a heavy component of STEM is going to be reading comprehension. Okay, the ability to comprehend and solve problems, which is the basis of STEM, whether you're in engineering, math, computer science, writing codes, all of that requires a real level of reading comprehension. So again, no matter what field that you're in, the baseline is going to be just that basic ability to read, something that we have to start at a very young age. So encouragement, providing resources, seeking help when needed, and then just staying on top of it. Those are going to be the keys no matter what field you go in, as it relates to making sure you have that baseline, that foundation of reading literacy and comprehension.
Now, you made a really, really good point of parents staying connected.
Mhm.
And I think a lot of times, because parents are so busy with the work and everything else, that they forget that they need to sit down and make sure that reading is a priority, because children model what they see. Now, you have children, right, Dr. Hudson?
I do.
So they see you reading quite a bit, I'm sure, because you read for work as well as other things. So how is it impacting them, and what ages are your children?
I have a 9 and 10-year-old. They're both daughters. So I have 2 girls, and 4th and 5th grade. And you're right, that impact, but also from their school. They are blessed to attend a school where reading is a part of the curriculum year round. You get a reading list for the summer. You're required to read throughout the school year. There's intervention if there are needs, and if your children learn differently, that has to all be a part of it. So the school definitely plays a part in terms of the learning, no doubt. But there's a home part as well. Are you encouraging reading? Do they see your example? What are they doing in their free time? Obviously, again, with devices, iPads and things like that, just never ending entertainment options, it is easy to lose sight of the fact that you do have to pick up a book or a Kindle and read and write. Encouraging them to keep a diary. All of that helps and aids in that reading and writing, that literacy process. We have to be more encouraging of our children in doing so.
Well, I think that's correct. And see, I'm a big STEM proponent. So what guidance would you offer the parents of boys and girls on getting them into STEM early? And how can we increase that thirst for knowledge around STEM? And when we talk about STEM to the people at home, we're talking about science, technology, engineering, and math, and that core curriculum that goes with that. Because for so long, we talked about us being lacking in those areas. Now we have more representation. Dr. Hudson, what do you think?
Well, more representation is needed. And the biggest and the primary argument around STEM education is the workforce need, right? The need for so many more engineers, so many more computer scientists, so many more everything STEM related by the year 2030, by the year 2040. And how do we meet that need as a nation? And so the workforce needs are, hey, if you go through this, you'll have a job, you'll have a highly paid job, you can have a successful career. That resonates with college students and maybe upper high school students. But how do you infuse that to younger students who are like my daughter's age, who are not necessarily thinking, they know what they may want to be, but they're not thinking seriously about their career in the way that you would as a sophomore, junior, and senior in college. So how can we make the argument beyond the workforce needs for the need for more STEM students? It has to start with just the interest. How do you make STEM interesting? How do you make it fun? How do you make it relevant to their daily lives? We talked about how relevant reading is to their daily lives of students. How do you set that example? How do you do the same with STEM? How do you do the same with math education? Jackson State is starting with Jackson Public Schools, an initiative, a middle college initiative, trying to educate more math educators, right? Trying to produce more math educators. How are those initiatives going to move the needle going forward? So again, starting young, most of the argument around STEM is related to workforce, the workforce needs of the country, and how you can be very successful pursuing a STEM career. But again, that doesn't necessarily help, and that's not going to be an attractive argument for a 6, 7, 8-year-old at the very beginning of their education. What are some of the things you can do to them to encourage them to get that mathematics, that background? How do you get them started in coding? Students are starting to code as early as elementary, right? How do you get them more involved in those type of activities? That's going to be very key going forward if we're going to continue to increase our representation in STEM.
Dr. Hudson, you're absolutely right. We're going to take a quick commercial break and we'll be right back.
Since 1877, Jackson State University has been training students for a life of service and leadership to impact our global society. Ranked among the best HBCUs in the country, Jackson State University offers 47 undergraduate, 37 master's, 1 specialist, and 13 doctoral degree programs. Whether you're interested in the arts, education, public health, the sciences, or business, we're here to take you from ready to JSU ready. Visit jsums.edu and apply today.
Thank you for joining us for the importance and power of reading. We have Dr. Hudson, from the president of Jackson State University, with us, and we're discussing this important topic on how we can get our kids into STEM and reading early for their success. Now, does Jackson State University offer a mentorship program to children in the community? And if so, how successful has it been?
I'm sorry, do we offer what? I couldn't quite understand what you're asking.
Do you have a mentorship program to help?
Absolutely, yes. So we do mentorship across the board. Of course, I just talked about the Middle College Initiative, in which we're going to work with JPS students to encourage them and help them become on the road to be math educators. We have a long-standing partnership with Blackburn Middle School, which is right in our backyard, and which is where I attended middle school, actually. Discussing, talking about different possibilities, different activities, helping our students continue on that road to college. So absolutely, there are a number of different programs, formal and informal, that Jackson State participates in terms of mentoring the youth of our community. We're looking to expand on those efforts. Actually, that's going to be the key, expanding those efforts, continuing to do the great work as it relates to working with our community.
And that is awesome. Now, you have a lot of student athletes. You know, you guys, football, basketball, tennis. People don't even understand that Jackson State has a great tennis program. But your requirement of student athletes are higher than I've seen at other universities. Can you explain that to folks when they talk about HBCUs and the quality of education?
Well, the quality of education in HBCUs, and we never want to downplay that. We produce high quality students, student athletes. Our programs produce students that are recruited all over the world, from all over the world into their various fields. And that's something we're very, very proud of. And with respect to our student athletes, we're proud to have a graduation rate that's high and at the very height amongst our peer institutions in the state and within our conference. That's something we're very proud of, just having that success on and off the field. So again, those things are very much key. Those things are very much a part of who we are at Jackson State University, and those things are going to continue. Jackson State offers a high quality education that as a result produces those high quality, highly sought after students and graduates to go into the field and just do remarkable things throughout society.
Yes, I can attest to that. Now, let's talk to the parents just a second as we have this engagement. Number one, you've already told parents that they need to be engaged. How early should a parent start planning, especially with reading and the different types of reading levels, to get kids to go to Jackson State University, say if they want them to attend? When should they start planning for this?
Immediately, right away, no matter the age. One thing I can attest to is there was never a point in my life where I didn't feel I was going to college. Okay, where I did not feel as if I was headed towards college. It was always the goal, go to college. And so that has to be infused in our youth today. It's surprising how many students do not have that same feeling and do not have that similar feel. Hey, this is what's next for me. This is where I'm going. So for us, it's going to be very important to encourage, demand, and infuse that, hey, this is where you're headed. This is the ultimate goal. Go to college and beyond. And it's not just going to be by citing statistics about how much more money you make, although those things are very important with the college degree or an advanced college degree. It's not even about as much the great college experience, what we offer at Jackson State University, how fun those 4 years are. You often hear people say, hey, these were the best 4 years of my life, right? So it's not even about that. It's really about on the path that you're on, the educational journey does include college. No matter what you're looking to do, no matter what field you're going into, your educational path has to include college. And you just have to infuse that very, very early on with our kids. And, we're seeing evidence of that. We're seeing more of that. You're seeing the popularity of HBCUs spike. HBCUs are really about producing more, helping this country, helping this entire United States reach its full potential by expanding its capacity for education. And that's what HBCUs do. And we're going to continue to do those things.
I know HBCUs have a proud tradition. I attended an HBCU, and I know the importance and power of reading. So Dr. Hudson, as we close and summarize, give me 5 keys that you would give parents right now for them to have children that will be successful and are going to matriculate onto the college level?
Well, I will start with support. As a parent, you have to support your child. You have to support them in reading, really in all aspects of life, but you have to support. Along with support comes encouragement, okay? Encourage. It's not enough just to say, hey, you need to do this, I'm behind you. But that encouragement is really that next step. What are some of the ways we can do? What can we create? What type of environment can I create for you that will help you become a better reader and a better student? Resources are important. If you don't have the resources at home, do you understand where you can get them? Do you know about all the free resources that are out there, either available through your school, available through the internet, just various websites, various community organizations, universities, some of the things that we can support? What are the resources that are truly available out there that can help your child, again, matriculate, become a better reader? Persistence, how hard you push, willing to stay the course, willing to not just let any setback kind of push you back, but really willing to use those setbacks to propel you to what's next. How are you utilizing resources? How are you persisting in your efforts to become a better reader? And the last thing I would just say is just overall, we have to do better, okay? Doing better overall, holistically, doing better in terms of providing support, providing resources, providing encouragement, really in terms of persistence, and just doing better overall in terms of helping propel our children to the next level, whether it's reading, comprehension, math comprehension, STEM, all of those things align to make you a better person and to help make our society greater. How do we do better? How do we move the needle? If you're saying only X amount of children, African-American children, matriculate into college or into STEM programs, how do we move that needle upward? How do we propel that? And those things are going to be key as we continue to go forward.
Dr. Hudson, you're absolutely correct. And to everybody that's looking at this program today, a book has helped every child to grow, and books will continue to help us to grow. Now, Dr. Hudson, you have a 9 and a 10. Behind me is my book called Mommy, What is an Entrepreneur? Make sure you get free copies for them.
Absolutely.
And to everybody that's listening to this program, this book behind me is free to you because reading matters, and the power of reading can't be understated. Thank you so much, Dr. Hudson, for joining me today for the importance and power of reading. To everybody, we'll have more interviews real soon. Thank you so much, and we'll see you soon. I'm Michelle, the Computer Lady. Bye-bye for now. Hi, I'm Michelle, the Computer Lady, author and children's book publisher of the Mommy Readers Collection series of books. Well, we know how important it is for us to read, but we also know how important our public hospitals are. We're here in Atlanta. My public hospital is Grady. They saved my life. And I would like to give back, and I need your help to do so. I've created a new fundraiser called Building Towards Our Future. And what's going to happen is we're going to make sure, you and I together, that Grady keeps on serving the marginalized, the poor, and the indigent in the Atlanta metro area. All right, stay tuned for more announcements. I'm going to be telling you how real soon. Thank you for joining me in this fight to make sure that we can live with Grady.
What is this? It's kinda light. Oh, my body starts to shiver. Worries will, I'm on high. Oh, I've never felt like this before. Got to let it go.
When you move abroad, there are some things you can't take with you. But there are some things you just can't leave behind.